Next.js is an open source web development framework created by Vercel, enabling React-based web applications with server-side rendering and generating static sites. So under the hood, you can implement server-side rendering with Next.js, and you can generate static websites with Next.js. You can also create a full stack web application with Next.js. So server-side rendering refers to an application's ability to display the web page on the server rather than rendering it in the browser. This is a flow of server-side rendering. In client-side rendering, the initial page will be generated in the browser. But on the server side, the server will generate the first page, which could be index.html file. So server will send the fully rendered page. So browser don't need to wait. That server will generate the fully rendered HTML page, and it will send the fully rendered page to the browser. Now browser doesn't need to perform more operations. Now browser will render the page, and here browser will execute the React code, and the page will be reactable. You can perform operations. Here you can see that server-side rendering refers to an application ability to display the web page on the server rather than rendering it into the browser. When a website JavaScript is rendered on the website server, a fully rendered page is sent to the client. This is a major difference between client-side rendering and the server-side rendering. On the client side, browser will not. So server will, in the client side rendering, the server will not render the HTML page. In client side rendering, server will send the initial JavaScript files or initial CSS file to the browser, and the browser will generate the first page. So browser can take 5 seconds, 10 seconds to render the first initial page. In client-side rendering, if page is rendered, then browser do not need to send another request to the server. But in Next.js, you can implement both client-side rendering and the server-side rendering. If servers rendered the page, you can also perform single page. You can also implement the single page application here. Here we are executing the React, which will perform the single page application. As you can see that server rendered application enables page to load faster, improving the user experience. That's why the developer introduced the concept of server-side rendering, because in client-side rendering, the initial page load was slow. That was the issue. If your application was complex, and let's say your initial page load time is 1 minute, so client has to wait for 1 minute to render the app or to render the web application. That was the issue. So another issue was in client-side rendering, the search engine optimization. Websites built with single page application technology or single page application strategy was not an SEO efficient. When rendering with server side, search engines can easily index crawl content because the content can be rendered before the page is loaded. which is ideal for SEO. Web pages are correctly indexed because web browser prioritize the web pages with faster load times. In single page, it takes some time to load. That's why in server side rendering you can resolve this issue. Rendering server side helps efficiently load pages for users with slow internet connection or outdated device. Let's say your you have built the application with client side rendering, which is single page web application, but your initial page load time is very slow and the user internet connection is also slow. So page initial page load time will be double. So the risk or drawbacks of SSR: server side rendering may be ideal for static site generation, but frequent server requests and full page reloads can result in overall slower page rendering in more complex applications. Maybe in complex application you need client side rendering. We'll we will use both client side rendering and server side rendering in this course. So there are some of the features of Next.js. It provides client side and server side rendering. It depends on you. Would you like to render the page on client or would you like to render the page on the server? It also performs nested routing. You can do data fetching, built-in optimization in Next.js, TypeScript support. You have API routes, middlewares, CSS supports. Benefits of Next.js: better search engine optimization, because you will implement the server side rendering. It will help us to improve the SEO. You can enhance the performance by using the SSR. That was a big picture of Next.js. Now we're going to start writing the code. First of all, you have to install Next.js. You have to open the project. I have attached the source code in the current lecture. You can find the starter kit project and open into VS Code and run npm install. I have already installed Next.js project. By running the npm install, you need these dependencies. We are using 13.1.3 version, which is the latest version of Next. I'm also going to use TypeScript in this project. To run the project in the development mode, you have to execute the script npm run dev. We will place all our source code in the source directory. If you have to add images or public assets like CSS file, you can place into the public folder. Inside the source, we will have the app directory, header.txt. Don't worry, we will use all these components. I just want to show you the overview of the project. What is inside the directory? You will have the pages. You can add server-side API routes here inside the pages. I'm also going to use ESLint. You can mention development related properties here inside the next config. App directory means this app directory. It's an optional experimental. It's not an experimental, but forget about it. You don't need to know about that. You will app directory. You will have app directory and pages, package, and tsconfig for TypeScript. Let's start the project. Make sure you install the dependencies. I have already installed all the dependencies. Now my project is running at localhost :3000. Our project is running. You can see this landing page, Next.js, docs, templates, and deploy. It is displaying this page. You can see that. Video, we're gonna talk about file-based routing in Next.js. If you go to the page.jsx, this is an index route, a default route. You can see that I'm in the default route. So Next.js support file-based routing. What you make sure you specify the page name. The title should be page. Let me show you. We're gonna create two routes, courses routes, to display all the courses. Let's say we will have the courses directory. Inside we will have the page. It should be a regular JavaScript function. Make sure you export it as a default. Let's go to the courses route. You can see that we have the courses. If you want to create the nested route, you can also do that. Inside the courses, let's say I have multiple courses: Nest.js, Node.js, React.js, and MongoDB. I'll also teach you how to add dynamic route later. Let's say inside the courses I have Node.js. It should be route page.tsx. I can say Node.js course, Node.js course. When you go to the courses / Node.js, you will see the Node.js course. If you can also add ID, let's say 1 inside the page.tsx. I can say that it should be React course with ID 1, React course, ID 1. Let's say that. When you go to the localhost / courses /1, you will see the React course with ID 1. This is how file-based routing works. You can also add the dynamic route. It should be ID, but I'll teach you in the next videos. In the previous video, we created some routes. We have Node.js route inside the courses, and we have /Node.js. We also created a route with this ID. If I go to the 1, it is going to give me the React course. But I don't want to set manually. I don't want to set ID manually, like 1 and Node.js. So you can create a dynamic route by using these brackets. Here you can choose any keyword for your dynamic route. I can use slug. Let's create a page. And I'm saying the course page. It is going to return a simple message. Course page. It could be Node.js, it could be React, it could be Angular course page. Get rid of these one. I'm also going to delete this route. You will see the course page. If I go to the Node.js, I will get the course page. In the later videos, I'll teach you how can you get this slug part. You have to use React router, but I'll teach you later. This is how dynamic route works. You can go to learn node. Let's see that it will work. Oh, I cannot access this page. Because I don't have page inside the Node.js. You can resolve this issue if you will add dot slug. Let's say make sure you use the slug, and I would like to access the Node.js and learn node route. It should display the same course page. Now we need to implement this Udemy routing setup. If I go to categories inside the health and fitness, meditation, let's click the yoga. You will see the topic and the topic name. If I go to fitness, meditation, let's say I'm gonna go to this route, instruments. Make sure you select the topic here, meditation, inside the mindfulness. You will see the topic and the mindfulness. If I go to the teaching, math, calculus, you will see the topic and calculus. You can implement the same route in Next.js. You have to follow the same logic. I want you to implement it. Stop the video and start implementing this route. It could be dynamic route. This is dynamic route. Let's create a new route. I'm gonna say topic. It should be dynamic route. So I'm gonna place brackets, page.tsx. Make sure you add the dot. If route is starting with topic name, I'm telling to Next.js, you can render any page. You can render any route. Let's test it out. So we're gonna send this request slash topic slash calculus. You cannot use different slug names for the same dynamic path. Alright, fine. Get rid of this one. I wanna keep this one. Let's do it. That's how you learn code. You have to make some mistakes, then you have to get some feedback from the Stack Overflow or from other websites. You can see that if I go to the topic slash meditation, you will see the route. That's how dynamic route works in Next.js. Now we're gonna talk about route grouping. Let's say if we are building e-commerce application, route grouping means you can group your routes by feature wise. I have a shopping feature. I can place all my shopping related routes inside the shopping folder, or actually I'm just grouping that. In the shopping group we will have products, order, checkout. If we have the account group we will have profile, logout. In the dashboard group we will have analytics, sale, and report route. It's just a grouping, it will not act as a route. Let's say I'm gonna say in the shop, or I can say shopping. I'm just making a group. Inside the shopping we will have products, and we will have order. Inside the shopping we will have checkout. Let's create it the pages. Let's create another page inside the order. Let's create another page inside the products. Let's try to check our routes. If you will go to the order, what will happen? Make sure your application is running. You can see we have an order route. If we go to the products, I can see we have product. It will not work if you will add in this way shoppings. You can see we have page not found because we are just grouping by using this parenthesis. Now I want you to create this group and the routes. Stop the video and do the exercise. Alright, I'm gonna do it. Let's create an account. So the account, we will have profile route. We will have, what is the second route? The logout. It should be settings. So I can say page.tsx, page.tsx. It should be profile. It should be setting. Now you can see that I can go to the profile. I should see the profile component. If I go to the settings, you can see that when you place a route inside the app directory, this is the component, but in Next.js, this is the server side component. It's not a client side component, it's a server side component. In the later videos, we will create client side components and I'll teach you how can you differentiate the client side component and the server side component, and when do you need client side component and when do you need server side component. Now we're gonna talk about layouts in Next.js. Each Next.js application must have root layout. So this is the root layout. Layout should accept the children props. Here we are just defining the type of the children, which is React node. Root layout must have HTML and the body. When React will render the application, root layout will not re-render. Let's say I'm gonna add a little bit code here. Hello root layout. You can see that. Let me show you with an example. I found the error. I have to render the h2 inside the body. So let's convert into the div. Here I can render my h2. Hello root layout. Our code is working fine now. I cannot see the root layout. The problem is we are using the CSS inside the layout. In the global CSS, get rid of everything. Inside the app layout, this is our home page, page.tsx. I'm going to delete everything. You can say that the home page. Now you can see that we have the root layout and we have the home page. You can also see the header component. Inside the layout, we used the header component, this one. It is a server-side component which is header.js. You can update the title. Next 13 crash course. If you would like to add SEO, you have to add meta tags inside the header component. I'm gonna comment this code. You can see that, or you can do that. Go from root layout. One more thing, if you would like to add nested layout, you can also do that. Let's say I'm gonna create dashboard. I'm gonna put my account inside the dashboard route. I'm gonna put shopping inside my dashboard. Now I can access the route dashboard slash profile, dashboard slash products. Do I have that? Yes, I have that. I can access the products. You can also add the nested layout for our component inside the dashboard. I just created the layout.tsx. Root layout must have HTML tag and the body tag. If you are using custom layout, this one, it should accept props children and it will not re-render when you change the route. Let's create the root layout or dashboard layout. As I told you, it should accept the children. inside the dashboard layout, let's say we need to add sidebar, or you have to add your navigation links here. You can place your shareable logic inside the dashboard layout. Whatever you want to share inside the account feature or shopping feature or shopping pages or account pages, you can add logic inside the dashboard layout. Most of the time you need sidebar and the navigation links. Here you can place your sidebar. Here you can place your navigation links. Let's say I'm gonna put some basic navbar. This is not the recommended way to add links in Next.js. I'll teach you how to do that. In the next video, we will talk more about the links. Let's say we need profile. We need settings. We need to add 3 more routes. Checkout, order, settings. I already done that. Products. Let's separate it. Now you can see that this is the root layout. This is the dashboard layout. But I cannot see the products here. I'm in the products route. It should display these products. It should render this div, because inside the dashboard layout we did not use the children, or I can say that render the children here. Now I can see the products. If I go to the profile, you will see the profile message. It is giving me the warning. You can add the type of the children. Here I'm placing the type. You can access the react node. Everything is fine now. If you go to the checkout, you will see the checkout. We did not create navigation links. We have to manually navigate to our application. when I go to the dashboard, I must see these links. So let's create the dashboard page. Inside the dashboard, first of all, let's create the page. It should not display the empty 404 error. That's why I'm gonna create the dashboard page. Now I can see the dashboard. If I click on profile, it should display the profile page. I have the dashboard layout. Instead of I will use the link component in Next.js. You can see that we have imported link component from the link package next/link. Link also has href property. You can add the path of the URL. It should display the slash profile, but our page inside the dashboard directory. So it should be slash dashboard and slash profile. Let's click on the profile and you can see we have profile page. If I click again, you will see the profile page. I'm gonna add the dashboard. I have replaced the anchor tag to link tag. This is the component in Next.js. You can enable client-side transitions between routes by using the link component. I can see the settings. I can see the checkout. I can see the order. I can see the products. First time when you transition to different route, it will take some time, a little bit time. The second time, Next.js create the cache for us. The second time you will navigate to the route. I have already went to profile route. I'm gonna navigate to profile route again. It will increase the speed. You can see that speed has increased now. Inside the home page, we need to add a link to home page. Let's use the link component. Similarly, we have to use the href home. When you go to the localhost colon 3000, we have the home. We also need to add dashboard link here. Dashboard. I can see the dashboard. Inside the dashboard layout, I would like to add another link. It should be go back to home. You can see links are working fine now. This is how you will add navigation in Next.js. Edit. In this video, you are going to learn how to do programmatic navigation. To implement programmatic navigation, you can use router hook. Next/navigation, I can use the use router hooks. It's a hook. Let's get the router from the use router hook. Let's use the onClick method. There is a method router.push. You have to provide the href string which is root URL. It's a callback function. Now it looks good. Go to the dashboard. Dashboard, go back to home. It's working fine now. Let's add another link. Courses. I can see the courses. Inside the courses, let's say I wanna follow the same pattern, use router. Make sure you are using the package from the navigation. Let's say I'm gonna use the same logic. Go to dashboard, go back to home. Inline callback function, router. Let's instance get the router from the use router hook. I want to show you how to resolve this error. Use router only works in client components. This courses page, this is the server component. Next.js says if you want to use any React hooks, you have to mention that this is the client component. They are saying that you have to add use client at the top of your application. You have to use the use client. That's it. Use client directive at the top of your file. You can learn more about React client hook in server component. Go back to home. I can see that. I have opened router.txt file from the official Next.js package, Next.js library. This is the Next.js source code. Go to the packages. And go to the next source client components. We have the router component here. I want to show you what is inside the router. They are using the caching as I told you. You can see that they are using the caching. We have the refresh method. Here we have used the push method. This one. It is navigating to the desired route. Why we use client? Because use router needs window object. Window object is available only in client side. That's why we mentioned the use client. We have the push. We use this method push. Navigate, refresh, and these are all the hooks. Let's say We have the post array. This is the blog post, and I would like to render all the post, but I also want to render the link component with the blog URL. This is the dynamic blog URL. We have courses. We can implement the same logic with courses. We have the courses, learn node. This is the course name, and the course description. We have two courses. Let's render the courses here. I have to use the map function. Make sure you are using the key, otherwise it will give you the key error. Key should be unique. Course.title. I can place description, course.description. Here we need to add link component. This time you will use the backtick slash courses and the name of the topic or name of the slug. Course.slug. It should be slug. Course.title. Go to the courses. You can see that we have two courses, learn node and learn JavaScript, or I can say that it should be more details. Learn more. It should be learn more. Now you can see that we have the learn more. I'm gonna click on this link. You will see courses and the topic, which is Node.js. Courses / JS JavaScript course. You have to use this template string to add dynamic segment. If you are working with Next.js version 13, you can render your application code on client side and on the server side. You have learned if you create client side component, all you need to do is mention used client. It's a directive you have to add at the top of your component. By default, Next, render these components on the server side. If you place any component inside the app directory, it will be treated as a server component. But if you want to make it like a client, if you want to run component on the client side, you have to use this use client directive. Client means your browser, your mobile application, your desktop application browser. It refers to client. On the other hand, server is a component. Server is a computer where your application is hosted. If you have hosted your application onto Azure, Amazon Web Services, or Google Cloud, it will be treated as the server. As you can see, by default, app directory uses server components. These are all the server components. The benefits of server components is that the initial page load is faster because server creates the initial render page, which is first page. Server does computation. On the client hand side, your browser application, your desktop browser will compute some calculation. It will create initial render page on the client. In the first video, I told you why we need server rendering. The same concept applies here. If you need to fetch data from external API, then you can use server component. If you need to access backend resources like GraphQL request, API request, you have to use the server component. If you need keep sensitive information, access token, API keys, then you need server component. If you work with third-party library, large dependency, then you will place in the server component. If you need on-click, on-change, any type of listener in your component, then you will make it as a client component. You will make it client component by placing the use client direct. Similarly, we use the use router component here, use router hook. So when you need use router hooks, lifecycle methods, you have to place use client. It could be client component. When you need on click, on change, then you will make client component. If you need use state, use reducer, use effect, use router, you will make your component on the client side. If you need any browser API, window object, any kind of browser API, you need client component because it will provide the window object. If you need custom hooks, that depends on state, effects, and browser only API, you will use client component. You need React class component method, you need client component. If you have to make an API request, how can you do it? I'm gonna send API request for this endpoint. This is a fake REST endpoint JSON placeholder. You can use any real world endpoint API. Let's say I would like to fetch all the users, or I would like to fetch all the posts, or let's fetch a single post. To fetch a single post, you have to send request to this endpoint. I'm gonna send the request to our root page, which is home page. That is, let me show you. I can create a get data function. I'm going to use the fetch method. Let's provide the API endpoint. It's going to give me the results. Make sure you have used the async function here, async keyword. I will get the data results.json. In next 13, that is the magic. You can fetch APIs in the server components. Let's say I would like to call get data here. So it's going to give me the post. To call the get data, we need to apply a wait expression because it is going to return the promise. So now I got the post. I can log the post title. Make sure you return the data. You can see that I got the title of the first post. If you would like to get the body, you can also do that. You can see we have the body. This is how you will make API request in Next.js. I also want to talk about a real the important concept. We made API request for static data. Static data doesn't change often. For example, a blog post. The post will not change often. Dynamic data means shopping cart. Every time shopping cart, a new product added, a shopping cart has to update. So when you are building this static data fetching, you are fetching the APIs. You are fetching results from the API. Next.js will maintain the cache. This is the point I would like to address here. We have the cache. Next time you have to send the request to the same results, it will pull that record from the cache. It will not fetch the API request. And now you will get the data. By using the static data fetching, it reduces the load on your database by minimizing the number of requests made. The data is automatically cached for improved loading performance. You can also create handler function API route in Next.js. If you go to the pages, you will see the API. You don't need to configure Express.js with Next.js. This is the handler function. You can use the same logic you use in Express.js, like you create request handler with these two arguments, request and the response. It is just returning the simple message John Doe. You can create API endpoints for courses, dashboard, account, shopping, whatever. I'm gonna go to the localhost /API. API/hello. it will be treated as an endpoint. You can see John Doe. If I create another endpoint, courses.ts, this is my handler function. It is going to take request and the response, and you can return a simple array, res.json. Let's add another course. Next, automatically will create the route for courses API / courses. I will see 2 courses. This is a good part in Next.js. If you can resolve this issue by request next API request interface. Here I can add next API response. You can also create the type for data, ID number, title string. It should be array of this data. It should give me the array of the data. You can see that I got the courses. When we will build real world app, we will use lot of API routes. I just want to show you the basic of API routes here. In this video, we're gonna learn how to implement dynamic route segment. If I go to this route, it should display the details of the course. If I go to the learn JavaScript route, it should display the details of this topic. I would like to fetch this topic from the database, or we can use internal local file system. You can also fetch this detail from the APIs, but I'm gonna make things simple here. First of all, we have to do a little bit refactoring. I'm going to cut the courses and I'm gonna put inside the data folder. I'm gonna say courses.ts. Let's place the courses. Make sure you export. You can also define the type course, ID is number, title is string, description is string, slug is also string. It should be courses array. But if you would like to create the types in separate folder, you can also do that. Types, I can say course.ts. Make sure you export the type. Now I can import the course type inside the courses. Let's import courses here. It looks good. Our application is working fine. So Next.js provides generate static params method. Here what I want to do, I would like to return all the slugs of our courses. Inside the courses we have only two records. Let's say I'm gonna add another record, learn view, and slug should be view. Now I would like to create the array of all the slugs inside the courses. So you have to create the courses slugs array. It will tell the Next.js that you have these number of pages. We have 3 courses. It will tell Next.js we have 3 slugs, so you have to create 3 pages. Next.js will generate all the pages ahead of time. All you can use turn courses.map course. It is going to return the slug. Now you can access the params inside the slug page, inside the topic page. Now I would like to access the slug here. I would like to access the slug. We have created the array of slug. It should give me the array of slug. Let me show you. If I get the params and I'm going to log the param. Let's test it out. I would like to see the details of this course, and I got slug and I got the first item. It's an array, so you can access the slug here. Now I got Node.js. If I access the JavaScript, you can see the JavaScript here. So here we need to find the course only based on slug. If you want to create a separate function, you can do that. It is going to give me the slug, so I can use the courses data array. I can use the find method, course, course.slug should be equals to this slug. The type should be string. Now I can get the course, single course, and I can call the data function. Make sure you provide the slug, params.slug 0. If you want to display the details, you can do it here. Course title, course description. I can see the slug which is JS. I got the details of JavaScript course. Let's fetch the view details. I got the title and the description. You can resolve this error by providing the types. It is going to give me the slug and string array. One more thing I would like to update here. I don't want to make it as a client component. This is the server component. That's why I'm gonna get rid of this use router. I'm gonna add manually link href to root URL. Go back to home. I don't need use router, otherwise it will make it as a client component. This is the server component. I maybe need to fetch data from external API. That's why I use the use router. It should be server component. If you need to send the API request, your component should be server based. Let's go to the learn node. Everything is working fine now. In this video, we are going to implement the loading functionality. Let's imagine when you open this post, let's say Next.js application has to fetch the record from external API. In that case, we need to display the data is loading, or you can use the React skeleton package. First of all, we need to add a logic here. Here we are fetching the record only based on ID. I can add some delay for 5 seconds or 10 seconds. I want you to do it. It should return the promise. So I can resolve it, act as a promise. So you can use set timeout method. I want you to do it. Stop the video and implement this logic. All right. I created a promise. It is going to give the resolve and reject. And inside the resolve, inside the resolve, we need to send the course or data. I can return or resolve resolve by providing the data. Here we have to use the async await. I have to use the await expression. My application is running on terminal. It's working fine now. It is working fine now. I got the Node.js. Here we need to add some delay. We need to add delay here. How can you do it? You can use the set timeout method. It is going to take the callback function, and here you have to provide your time. I'm going to provide the 5 seconds. And inside this callback function, we are going to wrap our logic. After 5 seconds, it will return this record. We are assuming that record is fetching from DB. Let's say I would like to fetch the record of JavaScript. You can see it is taking some time. After 5 seconds, I got the learn JavaScript record. You can add loading page. If you will use this word loading, Next.js will display the loading bar if application has to wait for results. Inside the loading, it would be just a function. You can say loading. You can see a loading. It's working fine now, but you can also display React skeleton. Let me show you what do I mean by React skeleton. There is a package you can use React loading skeleton. We have to install it. React loading skeleton. It's installing now. Package has installed. We run the application. Here is the usage. Let's try to test it out by placing the UI. It could be front-end component. I'm gonna place my component here. I can say loader, or you can say loader. .tsx. Export default. Loader function. Loader. Return this one. Get rid of this one. Now you can use the loader component here. That's it. Add use client directive at the top of your file. Yeah, we are using external component. We should place it as a use client. You can see this is the React skeleton. You can also add more. Let's say I want to add count 7. Here you can see the 7 rows. This is how you will add the loading bar or loading component. Now we're going to talk about the concept of streaming. Streaming allows you to break down the page HTML into small chunks and progressively send these chunks from the server to client. If you understand the concept of server-side rendering, in server-side rendering, first of all data for page given is fetched on the server. In server-side rendering, server generates the HTML page, and then server renders the HTML for the page, and HTML, CSS and JavaScript for page are sent to the client. After successfully generated after successfully generated the HTML page, server then sends HTML page, JavaScript, CSS to the client. A non-interactive user interface is shown using the generated HTML and CSS. And then finally React make it more interactive. So to implement the server-side rendering, you can see the time, how much time has taken. Fetching the data from the server, rendering HTML on the server, loading code on the client, fetching data like if you have any external API calls, like we use JSON placeholder, and then it will take. These steps are all sequential. If there is a data to fetch, first of all Next.js will fetch the data from external API, and then server will render the HTML on the server, and it the code will be prepared to send the client. And then finally here we will have our React application, make it more interactive app. These steps are sequential and blocking, meaning the server can only render the HTML for a page once all the data has been fetched. To resolve this problem, you can use the concept of streaming. You can break your HTML page into chunks. You can see that HTML into smaller chunks. So server will send the data to the client in smaller chunks. On the other side, React can only hydrate the UI once the code for all the component in the page has been downloaded. To resolve this issue, you can send HTML in chunks. Like server will send the HTML in chunks. This enables the part of the page to be displayed sooner without waiting for all the data to load before any UI can be rendered. Streaming works well with React component because each component can be considered as a chunk. It's particularly beneficial when you want to prevent long data requests from blocking the page. From rendering, it can reduce time to first byte and first contentful paint FCP. It allows to improve time to interactive, especially on slower devices. If you have to perform 10 API requests, server first need to make the API request, then generate the HTML code, HTML rendered page, and then send the HTML to client. And here React will interact to the page. These steps has been taken. To resolve this issue, server can send the data in the HTML in the form of chunks. We're gonna implement this logic. Let's say you want to display the users and the post and to-dos from the JSON placeholder API inside the dashboard. At the use client directory, I was getting the error. I don't want to use the use router. Get rid of this one first of all. You can use simple. Go back to home. Because this is a server-side component, I would like to keep it as a server-side component. Now, what I want to do here, I want to render the post, render the to-dos. Here I want to say render the users, or I can say render the posts. These are all the asynchronous API requests. So Next.js will send the HTML page in chunks. First they will send the to-dos, users, and then the post. To implement this logic, let's create a new component inside the UI. It should be to-dos.tsx. It's a function. It will fetch to dos from the JSON placeholder API. It's an async function. We also need to export it. We need to send the API request. So I'm going to use fetch, going to give me the response. We need to send this request to dos. Goes to dos. Here I would like to render the to dos, or you can say to dos dot map to do. I can say to do dot title. Now we need to use that component inside the dashboard page. It's an asynchronous component. We have to use the suspense. React provides the suspense. It's a component. Here how you will use your component. You have to provide this loading bar here. Let's say I can say loading. Here I would like to use my component to dos. So this is the asynchronous component. Now I got all the to dos. The length of the user, not a user to dos, length of to dos. Now you can see that I got the to dos. To receive this loading, we need to add delay manually. Let's create a new function inside the lib directory, inside the root folder, lib, and I'm gonna create delay.ts file. I just created the delay function. It is a time. I'm not using reject. I'm just placing any value here. It's a random value. It's a delay mocking function. Let's put delay here. Now you can see loading. It's working fine now, but we can also display the post. Let me show you how can you do it. Or you can display the comments. Let's create a new component for the comment. Should be comments. Now I would like to render the comments here. Forget about this error, it's just a TypeScript warning message. Forget about it. I'm gonna use comments. You can see we have to do's and comments. You can see a little bit delay, and I got to do's and comments. This is how you can use the suspense whenever you need asynchronous component inside your server component. You can use the suspense. In this video, you're gonna learn how to handle errors. We did not talk about how to do error handling in Next.js. There is a special page, error.tsx. You can create that page. Let's say I would like to handle the error in the dashboard component or dashboard page. All you need to do is to create error.tsx. That's it. And now you need to fill the error. It's a client component. Obviously, it's a component. It will take two arguments, the error. Next.js provide the details of the error. You can also define the types of this object. Error, the type should be error. And reset, you can define the type of the reset. It's just a function. It is going to return the void. It's going to return nothing. Let's return the JSX. what message you want to display if error comes. I can say something went wrong. If you want to add another button, you can do that. I can say the reset. Now what I want to do, how this component will be triggered, how this component will be triggered. Think about it. Let's say inside the dashboard page, I would like to throw the new error. If something bad happens or error comes inside the API calls, error in dashboard, I'm going to dashboard page. You will see the error. I got the error. Error in dashboard. You can see I got the error. If I click on try again, it's going to reset. If you want to do more stuff, if error triggered, what you can say, you can add your own custom logic. You have to use the use effect. It's going to take the callback function. Console.error. I'm gonna log the error. You can log the message inside use effect, or I can put the debugger. It's a breakpoint. You can see. Let me do it again. I'm going back to the home. Go to the dashboard. You can see error triggered. And make sure when error triggered, you should respond. I'm going to add dependency. Go back to home. Now you can see I'm in the dashboard route. Let's remove the debugger. What is issue here? Oh, I did not add the comma. Let's put debugger again. Now I got the error. Next has stopped at this breakpoint. So you can log the error, whatever you want to do. I got the error. If I clicked on try again, it again run the use effect method. You can check the logic here if you want. I'm gonna click on try again. You will see it has stopped at this break. You can add try again logic here. Maybe you have to fetch the API request again. So you learned how to handle the errors gracefully in Next.js application. So far, we did not talk about how to style our Next.js application. There are many strategies to style the application. You can use scope-based styling for component level, or you can add global CSS. Let's do global styling. When we create the Next.js application, you will have global.css. If you will not have global.css, we can create, but I can see inside the app directory we have globals.css. Here you will place your global styling, what I wanna say, box sizing, border box. Let's add global styling. You can see global styling is working now. You can add padding. It's working fine now. If you want to add component level styling, you can also do that. Next provides scope styling. Let's say I want to add style for only the dashboard page. I can say dashboard.module.css. This is a scope level styling. Say I would like to add a new class, dashboard. Now we need to use this dashboard styling inside the page. Import as styles from dashboard.module.css. Let's use it here. Class name style.dashboard. Go to the dashboard. It seems like it did not add our CSS. Let's increase the value. There's an error. Let me fix that. Oh, something went wrong. We are using the error inside the dashboard. Get rid of this error. Oh, wow. You can see it's working fine now. We added component level styling or scope level styling. If you want to add external style sheet like Bootstrap or Tailwind, you can do that. But now I'm going to teach you how to add Bootstrap. If you want to add external CSS framework, you have to add the CSS inside the layout. First of all, we need to install Bootstrap. Now Bootstrap package has installed. First you need to import the bootstrap.css, then you will have your own custom global CSS file. I have to go to the node modules. I have to find the bootstrap dist. Here we will have bootstrap.css file, or you can use the min.css. Let's test it out. Min.css. Cool, very cool. Bootstrap has applied successfully. You can see that. The dashboard. So everything is fine now.